hear me?
Hello, Jonas. How are you?
Hey, man. I'm good. How are you?
Everything is good. Are you keeping all good?
Yeah, great.
Yeah. We can start talking about the album, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. That's fine.
Let's start for the name of it. It's not going to be an easy name to say, especially for the fans, I guess. Nightmares as extensions of the waking state. How did you come up with the title for the album?
Well, I think I was just looking for something that I thought had some sort of a connecting thing with all the songs that I saw the songs as being potential nightmares on their own, even though they're about things that happen in reality as well. So, and I thought it was a good title. It looked good to me, and yeah, it sort of wraps up what the songs are all about, but it's not a concept album.
Yeah, and so this is a very personal record, or a more personal record for you?
Yeah, I think every album is personal, but I think maybe this one has some extra. But it's hard for me to say. I mean, I regard them as all being very personal. But I think maybe the lyrics are a little bit more reality based on this one rather than what they were maybe on the previous one.
Yeah. Because the song In the Event Of that closes the record, it's about a nightmare that you had many years ago. Are you the kind of person that actually remembers the dreams?
No, and that's why I think this dream stuck with me for a long time, because I usually don't remember much of my dreams, at least not the funny or interesting ones. So, and I mean, nightmares, I mean, we all have them. They're frightening to some extent, but usually when you wake up, you go like, wow, that was just a dream, But this dream I had, nightmare I had a long time ago, it just stuck with me for days. I think I was sort of feeling tense about what I just dreamed. And now I don't remember so much of it. So when I thought, I had the opportunity to come up with a lyric based on a nightmare, which is something I've never done before. I had to sort of, if you try to remember something that actually happened to you, that's easier. Yeah. And try to remember a dream that happened 10 or 15 years ago, that's really hard. But also it gives you a little bit of, options to come up with new stuff that can be added to the lyric or the sort of recollection of the dream. So that's creative in a way.
Yeah, because speaking of that, I always, I'm going to be 50 in December, and I'm getting to a time in my life that I try to remember things when I was younger, and now I'm not sure if they happened exactly the way I remember them. Does that happen with you as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm the same age, and I'm also, sort of looking back to on certain events and stuff that I want to keep them in my memory, and then all of a sudden you go like, is this a different version of what actually happened, or was it this way? Because it's so long ago, and I usually think like we only have one brain, and there's so many thoughts going through our brains on a daily basis. And of course, this is going to affect some of your memories because it's going to alter stuff probably. Yeah. Something maybe that happened last week will alter a memory that you had 40 years ago. I don't know, but it's... there's a lot of stuff to digest for our poor brains, I think.
The thing about those memories is sometimes when you talk with another person that was there at the same time, they have a different view of things, or they're not exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, am I fucking crazy? What's happening? Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, no, that's weird. But it's exactly as you say. I mean, different people have different versions of a memory or something that happened, and it's probably because our brains sort of deal with information on in different ways, and so it's that's also very interesting. It's you can never be sure of anything, it seems.
I'm not sure of anything now anymore because I go back. I take pictures. I'm a photographer as well, and sometimes I go through the archives, and like I did Wacken back in 2001, 2002, and I need to see the photos to actually know that I saw a certain band live back then, and I didn't remember. And I see pictures, and I have no recollection whatsoever of that moment, which is kind of strange, when that happens.
It's frightening. I mean, of course, if you're at a festival, and especially if you go there some years in a row, you will see many bands. so maybe your brain is sorting out some of the performances for you and thinking like, this wasn't good enough, so let's just sort it out. But it's weird. And so when did you start? Because Sky Void of Stars was released in 2023. When did you start working on the songs for Nightmares? I think I didn't have really a starting date, because I always write music. It doesn't really matter if we have a plan to make a record or even a deadline. I always write music when I'm in my home. So when, eventually when the record label or our management says it's time to start thinking about a new record, then usually I have already a lot of ideas lying around. So I can't really say what the starting point or date was, except that I think when I got home from the touring we did for Sky Void of Stars, I just started writing again, and I just kept doing it, and I'm still writing, even though we have a new album coming out. I just sit every day and try to write music because it's what I do and it's what I love the most. So it's an ongoing process.
Yeah. And it's better, to have already some ideas than, being pressured to deliver something and you have nothing.
Yeah, that would be a horrible situation for me, because I need the time. I'm a slow writer, and because I like it that way and I don't want to rush things. So for me, that would be a disaster to have someone saying I need an album in 3 months. That's not going to happen.
And for this record, did Anders participate, or was just Nico and Sebastian that helped with the writing of the album? I know normally you do most of the songwriting anyway, so.
Yeah, no, I did it all by myself this time as well. I mean, I do send my ideas to the other guys, and they always get the chance to give me some input. And but for this album with Nico and Sebastian, they have ideas for guitar sounds and stuff like that, which I don't really think so much about because I'm not really a guitarist. So that's the stuff I gladly leave to them to decide, and guitar effects and whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's even though I write the music, there's always a lot of cooperation with the other guys, and also I discuss the drums on a very detailed level with Daniel, our drummer, because I used to be a drummer and I love drums. I can't play drums anymore, but luckily for me, we have a very good drummer, so I can sort of bounce ideas with him and discuss what's possible to do and what's not possible, and how do we sort of approach the whole, the drumming part of the album. So it's a very healthy discussion going on all the time until we actually hit the studio, and then the discussion, of course, is even more personal because we get to see each other and sit around and hang around while recording. So it's a very nice. I like the way it works right now.
Yeah. And, when you write the songs, you already have like the whole structure done for the song.
Yeah, usually it's very strict in that way. The song starts here and it stops there, but of course there is plenty of room for spontaneous stuff to happen within the songs and within the parts. But I usually always have the sort of foundation is set in stone pretty much.
And it's good to have that idea how a song should start and finish, instead of I just have this, let's see how it turns out.
Yeah, exactly. I don't really like being in that position if someone asks, do you have a new song ready, and I say but it's not finished yet, and then I don't want to play them anything. Yeah. I want to present the full stuff, the whole deal, so to speak.
Yeah. And it's always, I guess it becomes easier for the guitar player, for the bass player to contribute, because they know where their parts are, and sometimes what to do, and becomes a bit easier instead of what do I put here now.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think they appreciate it, especially Daniel, the drummer. He wants me to write his drum parts, and if there's going to be a change made by him, we always discuss it. He wants to hear my opinion, so it's in that sense, I think some people maybe want a little bit more freedom, but some people want the sort of the strict manual, really, how to play stuff. But I don't really put any like reins onto the. If Niklas, the bass player, wants to change stuff, which he normally does a bit, I'm all for it, because he's a bass player and I'm not really a bass player, so I want to hear, the expertise of the individual players, and I sort of adapt to that normally. Yeah.
So it's always good to be in a good environment, and where every idea is accepted and listened to, and I mean, if it makes sense, good. If it doesn't, next time.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it needs to roll, I think, to be able to. Well, first of all, finish making of an album. Yeah. I mean, if you want to compromise all the time, I think there's no albums to be made, because you need to have like a vision and then share it with someone and sort of work towards the same goal, and that's what we do, I feel.
Do you think it's when you have like a strong vision for the band and for the art that you make, I see some people not understanding that there should be a vision for to make an album. As you were saying, you have a vision of the songs, how they play out. I don't think some people understand that you really need to have that vision, otherwise it would be a mess. If you were just listening to everyone and everybody would decide, oh, it's better if you put like a cymbal here or a cowbell or whatever sound.
No, you're right. I mean, there's absolutely a need for a vision, someone that takes care about the whole package. I mean, one person can do it, or maybe a couple of persons in a band. Because I think if everyone, it's like always when we have recorded albums and there's time for the sort of mix session. Yeah. I think I haven't met one mixer guy that haven't said, the worst thing is when the whole band is here during a mix session, because everyone wants their instrument to be louder in the mix, and it will completely fuck up the whole thing. Yeah. So usually they want probably no one there and just do their job. And if they want someone from the band, it should be one or two people. So it's the same sort of thing. Too many cooks, you have to stick to a certain idea, I think.
Because I remember, reading, I think it was Judas Priest biography stories. And, back in the days, we're talking about early 80s, KK and Glenn would be, with the producer or the mixer. And they would always, on the back of each other, ask to lift their guitar solo a bit louder than the other ones.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I found it interesting, and at the same time, it's kind of weird to, not trust someone to do the job.
Exactly, and I mean, for the audience or the people that were gonna listen to that album, I don't think they would benefit from having one guitar solo louder than the other one. I mean, you want the balance and hear what everyone is doing. So that's completely. But of course, it's also probably something very human about it to say, like, this is my time to shine. I want to be the loudest on this song or this album.
Yeah, I'm sure there's quite a few people like that. For me, if there's a producer, you have to trust him, or if there's a leader in the band, you have to trust, his opinions and his vision. It's otherwise it's like like working in a company. There needs to be a boss. There needs to be someone that oversees the other people below. Doesn't mean that people below are not as good or useless, but sometimes you need like a hierarchy to make things work properly. Otherwise, would be complete anarchy, and I'm not sure if that's a good thing.
No, exactly. Yeah, no, we want to avoid the anarchy in this. At least in this kind of music style.
And, let's just quickly talk about, you guys announced Anders was leaving the band, after so many years. For the fans on this side of on this side was a surprise. But I guess for you guys, it wasn't much of a surprise. It was something that was coming sooner or later anyway, from what we could read from the press releases.
Yeah, I mean, it's been on our radar for quite some time, and to us, it wasn't really a surprise at all. And I mean, it's unfortunate things like that happen. Obviously, it's something that, I mean, change. It happens to everything at some point. I mean, and this is just the way it is, and. But I usually think about it like I'm so happy that we had so much time together to do and create all these memories that we have that's connected to the band, and the things that we have achieved. We had 30 plus years to do it, which is longer than most marriages probably. So I mean, I try to look at it in a different light and try to see something positive coming out of it. So that's the way for me, how I'm dealing with it. And the rest is just, I mean, I want to continue make music. That's my drive, and I'm still hungry for it. It's something that I invested so much time in my life to do it. And I'm in a place where I really like to be. So I just want to go on.
Yeah. One of the things about being in the band, sometimes people don't understand how, because it's not just making music, there is a lot in a band that needs to be dealt with. And I don't think people understand that side of things. It's not easy to run, because being in a band is like running a business. When you do tourings, you have to do budgets. You have the merchandise, you have, everything that involves with touring and making a record. There's budgets as well. And it's not easy to deal with all that. And, when someone in the band really, it's not invested in that, sometimes, I mean, some people are okay, others are not. But there is a lot of work going into a band to make it successful, that everybody needs to be on board with what they have to do. And I don't think people understand that side of things as well, because if you're doing all the work and some people are just not interested, what's the point? It's like a marriage. again. If you're investing in a marriage and, you come home at night, the other person doesn't want to talk, doesn't want to do anything, or, engage, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. And I think you're absolutely right. People probably don't understand or have the capacities to see what's going into being in a band, because it's, as you say, it's a lot of work. If someone goes to a concert and see the band perform, this includes me as well, because I'm still, like, when I'm seeing other bands perform, I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, they have such a splendid life. They just go up there and play a show and that's it. And then they have a bottle of champagne waiting for them. But it's not always like that. Yeah. That's a rare occasion. But we do it because we love it. But it's definitely not easy.
Yeah. And, on the album, on the song Wind of No Change, you have Hail Satan. It's kind of a nod to the past, that sentence on the song.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because, sometimes I want to make a little, change maybe in a lyrical concept, because I usually deal with the same kind of stuff over and over, but I try to sort of, vary it a little bit. But for this song, I just felt that it needed a different edge to it. The music was speaking to me in a different way than some of the other songs, and especially the chorus part I thought was very straightforward and simple. And then I felt like, it needs something simple also lyrically. And what's not to like about a nod back to, the stuff that you listened to when you were a kid or growing up, and being part afraid of and part so obsessed with, that I tried to find that little in between sort of feeling that I remember from. I'm talking about this specific line. I was listening to Merciful Fate, and I just sort of came back to how easy and how good it sounded when he was singing Hail Satan, and I thought, maybe I should try that. It doesn't cost me anything to try it, and I sort of liked it, so I kept it that way. Yeah,
and you sing in your very own way, so it kind of, it doesn't sound as evil as Merciful Fate. No. Which is, I love Merciful Fate anyway, and I saw, it was a few years ago at Bloodstock in England, and it was such a great show. Yeah. It's amazing. And on this record, they also have a song in Swedish, which is not very common, at least for you on Katatonia. Why, this song in Swedish was, was the song speaking in that sense for you to write in Swedish?
Yeah, I think so from the very beginning, because this song is it's quite old now. I co-wrote it with a friend of mine, Joakim Karlsson, from a Swedish band called Kraft, a black metal band. But we do share a love for like electronic music, so we have sort of written music together for 12 years, I think, something like that. And this is one of the first pieces we started working on. And I remember when we started, he was sending me the sort of piano stuff that is the foundation of the song. And it immediately made me sing in Swedish, and I don't know why. I think it just spoke to me in a certain way to do that. And then the song was never finished up until now, when he was reminding me, when I was doing the writing session for this album. He was reminding me of the song, saying like, we should do this, we should complete this at some point. And I said, yeah, I'm busy now with the Katatonia stuff. But then I started thinking maybe it should be on the Katatonia album, because it has a very Katatonia vibe to it. So we completed the song, and I had to complete the lyrics, and I kept everything in Swedish because I think it's how the song spoke to me from the beginning. So it had to be in Swedish, and I'm sorry to the people that doesn't understand Swedish, but maybe it's fun to hear as well. It's a bit exotic, maybe.
Yeah, no, it's always, it's always when you have like an album in English and then comes something different, it always gets your attention anyway. So I think it's and it's just before the last song on the album. So I think it's a nice touch to have that in Swedish. I don't understand a word of it, but that's why Google is your friend sometimes.
Yeah.
It's to translate those. And you're going to do a tour in the autumn with Evergrey. You participated on the last Evergrey record on a song. Is there going to be a chance of you guys playing that song live together?
I would say, they probably want to try it out at least. I wouldn't be against it. Maybe not every night, but at some point, try to do it live. It would be fun.
I talked with Tom about it when the album came out, and the fun thing about that song, it's that I couldn't distinguish when did you came in and when did Tom sang, because oddly enough or not, your register, it's very similar.
Yeah.
And I was like, where is Jonas? Where is Tom? And I couldn't really distinguish only, after a few good hearings and, putting the headphones on and just immerse myself in the song. I could actually, distinguish the little nuances in the singing. But it was really, interesting to realize how your both voices would, just mesh so well.
Yeah, it was weird because when I sent it back to him, he didn't think I had sung on it. He was like, "But that's just my demo vocals you sent back." And I said, "No, it's me singing." And he was like, "Oh fuck, that's actually true. But we sound exactly the same." So yeah. We have maybe the same kind of register that we use in similar ways, probably.
Yeah, I think it's that lower register that that really it's on the same level. It's amazing, it's a great song, and hopefully you can play a few times that song live. At least for the fans, will be, I'm sure, a nice treat. You're not playing Portugal on this run. Is there any possibility for next year, maybe? For Katatonia at least, to play Portugal?
Yeah, surely. I mean, that's what we always aim for. It's usually, sometimes you go through Portugal on a tour, but sometimes, I don't know the exact reasons for it, but then you have to sort of do fly-in shows instead. Yeah. But of course, we want to come back. It's amazing to be there.
Yeah, and just to wrap it up, last time you played was last year, obviously, in the festival. There was quite some issues before you guys got on.
Oh, yeah.
What happened?
I'm not sure. We had a gig the day before in Norway, but then our sound guy that we always work with, he had to do another show, so he flew to Germany, I think, and we had to fly in another guy that we hadn't worked with, and for some reason the live rig that we use, he didn't exactly know how to patch it to get sound immediately. So we had to, I think we had to call our original sound guy after the first, we tried to open the show and it didn't happen, and someone had to call our sound guy, and he had to tell our, stand-in sound guy how to make it work, which was, it felt like I was standing there, for 2 hours waiting for the show to happen. But in reality, maybe it was 15 minutes or something. But it's horrible to stand there, not knowing what to do.
Yeah, because I was in the pit, to take photos, and I just saw the girl that was tour manager maybe, and she was just like writing off the songs on the set list, and I was like, please don't write off every song. We still want to hear some.
Yeah, I mean, but when we actually started, it felt like it was such a relief. So I think actually the whole crowd and everything was great. I think the whole festival was great, so it made up for it, but it felt a little bit...
Yeah, it's a bit...
on our part, it was a bit shitty. But next time we will come more... we will make up for it.
Yeah. All right, Jonas, thank you very much for your time. All the best for Katatonia. Hope to see you guys back in Portugal soon, maybe next year. We'll try to see one of those shows in Europe because Evergrey is one of my favorite bands. And, I'm loving Katatonia. These last few records are amazing. So, I'll try to fly to some of those shows, or at least one of them. So, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And, hope to see you soon. All right, Jonas, thank you very much. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.